everyone, Mrs. Tucker here, and I'm going to be reading you a story today called Ish. And this story is by Peter Reynolds. On Tuesday, we listened to this story called The Dot, and that story was also by Peter Reynolds. And remember that on Tuesday, I told you that we were going to read a follow-up story called Ish. And the reason I chose this story is because we're working on compare and contrast this week, and I thought it would be a really great idea if we were to compare and contrast the two stories that Peter Reynolds wrote. So, on Tuesday, you listened to a story about Vashti and how she was motivated by her teacher, and her teacher really helped Vashti build that confidence in herself, to have that faith in herself that she was a good artist. So I want you to be thinking about how that story relates to this story called Ish. Okay. Ramon loved to draw. Anytime, anything, anywhere. One day, Ramon was drawing a vase of flowers. His brother, Leon, leaned over his shoulder. Leon burst out laughing. "What is that?" he asked. Ramon could not even answer. He just crumpled up the drawing and threw it across the room. Leon's laughter haunted Ramon. He kept trying to make his drawings look right, but they never did. After many months and many crumpled sheets of paper, Ramon put his pencil down. "I'm done." Marisol, his sister, was watching him. "What do you want?" he snapped. "I was watching you draw," she said. Ramon sneered. "I'm not drawing. Go away." Marissa ran away, but not before picking up a crumpled sheet of paper. "Hey, come back here with that!" Ramon raced after Marisol, up the hall and into her room. He was about to yell, but fell silent when he saw his sister's walls. He stared at the crumpled gallery. "This is one of my favorites," Marisol said, pointing. "That was supposed to be a vase of flowers," Ramon said, "but it doesn't look like one." "Well, it looks vase-ish," she exclaimed. "Vase-ish?" Ramon looked closer. Then he studied all the drawings on Marisol's wall and began to see them in a whole new way. "They do look ish," he said. Ramon felt light and energized. Thinking ishly allowed his ideas to flow freely. He began to draw what he felt, loose lines, quickly springing out, without worry. Ramon once again drew and drew the world around him. Making an ish drawing felt wonderful. He filled his journals. Tree-ish, house-ish, boat-ish, afternoon-ish, fish-ish, sun-ish. Ramon realized he couldn't draw ish feelings too, or he realized he could draw ish feelings too. Peace-ish, silly-ish, excited-ish. His ish art inspired ish writing. He wasn't sure if he was writing poems, but he knew they were poem-ish. One spring morning, Ramon had a wonderful feeling. It was a feeling that even ish words and ish drawings could not capture. He decided not to capture it. Instead, he simply savored it. And Ramon lived ishfully ever after. The end. Ish. What a great story. I love this story by Peter Reynolds, and I thought that it tied perfectly with the story on Tuesday called The Dot. And in that story, we saw that Vashti was just really struggling with having confidence in herself, with being able to paint, right? And her teacher really instilled some confidence in her, and she realized that she could draw and she could paint. And I love that. Thinking about the dot, I want you to think about, how did that story connect to this story? So in this book, Ish, we saw Ramon, right? And we saw that he actually started out in the story, he loved to draw. But then something happened. Man, he was so happy with his drawings, but then all of a sudden, his brother said, "That's not a vase." And he made him really question himself. I want you to think about who in the story was similar to Vashti's teacher. Because in the story, The Dot, Vashti's teacher was the one who really kind of motivated her and made her feel like her work was special. I want you to think about who in this story made Ramon feel special. So I have an activity for you guys to do after you listen to this read aloud. I want you to practice comparing and contrasting with using a Venn diagram. So what you're going to do is you're going to compare Ish to The Dot, and you're going to drag the statements into the Venn diagrams to compare and contrast the two stories. I hope you enjoyed this book as much as I did, and I look forward to seeing your Venn diagrams.